Good afternoon, everyone. This will be our continuation of our discussion in our synchronous class, but apparently we can't have it this afternoon. So I provide a asynchronous discussion, video discussion, which is uploaded now in the YouTube. So after this discussion, on Friday, you will be having a quiz of those discussion that we have today. So I hope you listen and you will learn all of those concepts that will be explained in this discussion. So the focus is all about communication according to purpose and another one topic that will be discussed today. So communication according to purpose. It means that a certain communication has its purpose in the delivery or presentation in front of people or within a small type of audience. Okay, so in we have types of speech according to purpose. One is informative. It means that you will be giving certain information in terms of your delivery. Second, we have persuasive. You persuade. Third is entertainment, which is short for entertain. And number four is demonstrative, short to demonstrate. So number one, let's focus first in informative speech. It has been defined in informative speech that this is the type of speech aims to provide interesting and useful information to the audience. So whether if it gives a reliable and factual information, then it is an example of informative speech. One of example of this, aside from the example that can be presented, is that a lesson being presented by the teacher on the class. In our setup nowadays, the type of their presentation and how they present their materials in education is an example of informative speech. Okay, they try to deliver concept, they try to deliver informations that is connected in per subject area. So if you have lesson in English, math, TLE, social science, those are examples of informative speech that is being delivered by a speaker or a presenter. So example also included in informative speech are teachers telling the symptoms of COVID-19 virus to the grade 8 student of UST Legazpi. So a teacher gives a certain information about the symptoms that may occur to a person having experienced the COVID-19. So that is an example also of informative speech. We have also a student talking about her research to the panelists. When a researcher or a student researcher present his or her data to the panelists or undocumented data is an example of informative speech. Or any data any data or supporting data that is being presented by the panelists are example of informative speech. So another example, a computer programmer speaking about a new software. So one who is much knowledgeable in terms of software presenter his or her factual information about the new software, okay, about the software or about in relation to its uses. So those are example of informative speech. We also have the elements of informative speech. Okay, knowledge, establish credibility by demonstrating expertise and knowledge of the subject. Since they are knowledgeable in terms of the subject or the content, they have its knowledge. And it is very much important in the informative speech because it gives mga anak the knowledge or the reliable or factual information. Key points, repeat to emphasize all the important points or details. So at some point in the delivery of informative speech, they give the key points that should be inclined to the listener or the one who listens or view the certain discussion or a certain informative speeches. Okay, so next we have interest. Convey the subject or topic with enthusiasm and anecdotes about the subject matter. So anything that has a background in terms of the content is much knowledgeable of any information that may be given or delivered on that particular type of speech, which is informative. So pag sinabi natin informative, it means to inform. Okay? To inform someone who is not knowledgeable enough of the certain topics that is being discussed in front of the audience. So next, we have persuasive. Just be reminded, class, that persuasive means to convince you of or to change your way in terms of thinking or the way you do something or to start doing something. It means that even though you don't want to be convinced, but then again, because of how they present that to you, okay, how they present their maybe their information, or even a certain certain ways of their life that you should adopt from them, will be a sample for the persuasive speech. Okay? Remember, pag sinabi nating persuasive speech, it means to convince people to change in some way in thinking, the way they do something, or to start doing something. Aside from the given example, one of the example that I can relate this to you is when there is a customer representative that is trying to present a certain product, okay, a certain product in of their company. So, for example, a cell phone. What are those cell phones that we really have right now that is sold most sold in the market, or even in our locality, or even in our region or nation nowadays? Or example, ano ba yung mga trending ngayon, like Xiaomi? So when someone is presenting a brand, their specs, and you were being convinced about the use of its gadgets or the benefit that you can get on the use of the cell phone, and you were being convinced that you should buy that certain product, then you were being persuaded. Okay, you were being persuaded of their speech when they convince you. Okay, so aside from my example, we have also example here. Start eating healthy food. For example, there are videos. There are also videos in the YouTube. You can see that there are videos presented that how to become healthy in our lifestyle. So how should we eat foods? What are the foods that we should eat, diba? So it is being presented through videos, and then after that, if you were being convinced and you're doing the same way or the routine that is presented on the videos, you were being convinced, or you have been persuaded. So next, we have become a youth leader. So there are there's a various seminars and workshop to become a youth leaders. So leadership seminars. So there were such kind of activity in which you were being explained how to become a leader, how what are the characteristic that should be seen as a leader. So were you being persuaded of that, and you were doing also how to become a good leader, then you were being persuaded also of the speech. So buy an advanced appliance in a replace of another is an example of persuasive speech. Okay, donate for a charity. So you're being tried to be convinced that you have to donate for a charity. So elements of persuasive speech is credibility. Present facts and statistic with personal experience. So they present the one who persuade you present a factual information and their experiences of the use of the product or any related to the persuasive way of delivery of speech. Okay, so passion, convey the subject with enthusiasm, passion, conviction to appeal to the emotion of the audience. It is really necessary that you have to emphasize good emotion, good conviction, and the delivery so that it is believable in the part of the audience. For example, another example is that someone who entered in our room just to buy for them a storybooks, diba? I don't know if you experienced that on your elementary days when there is someone who entered in the class and they tried to for you to look for a certain book which you have to buy for them for worth of 50 pesos, 100 pesos, and then after when you were being they were trying to persuade you and convince you that you have to buy this because it gives a lot of stories, whether it's fiction or non-fiction stories, and it has a good stories that have in the book. So yun yung mga nandoon sa sa delivery ng tao na nagsisell nung libro, and then after if that will be it convince you, then it will follow how you to buy the book. Okay, so just like for example at home, okay, and at your home there is someone who roam around on your area, di ba, yung mga naglilibot nagpapabili ng ice cream. So they present their facts that na yung ice cream ay masarap siya. We have different types of ice cream. May chocolate, may mango, may vanilla, merong strawberry. So meron bang avocado. So depending on the ice cream company, but an example of that yun nga yung naglilibot ng ice cream, naglilibot ng banana Q, ng turon, 'di ba? So they persuade you how they deliver. Masarap nga to, sir, ma'am, matamis nga to, ganyan. So they present their facts and their personal experiences, and they present it with a passion. So those are example of persuasive delivery of speech. Next, we have entertainment speech. When they provide pleasure and enjoyment that makes you laugh or gives you an anecdotal information, that is entertainment speech. One of example of this, aside from the given example, is the way how Vice Ganda delivered his idea in the audience, whether in the audience in the stage, okay, in their segment, but also the one who is watching at home, diba? When Vice Ganda try to present laughable lines and makes you totally laugh, then it is an example of entertainment speech. So example also of entertainment speech is not just laughable also, but sad stories or a mixed emotion of stories can be entertaining speech also. One is telling jokes or funny story. So kung nagbibigay ka ng jokes and funny stories, is example of entertainment. Makes excuses for an occasion and dramatizing an anecdote. For example, you tell about a story of someone or the story of Jose Rizal, and you were just the one who present about the information about Jose Rizal, about the life of Jesus, di ba? So nagbigay ka ng information about them. That's still entertainment speech. Okay? So tell a scary story. Kung gusto mong takutin yung kasama mo dyan sa bahay nyo, or tinatakot mo yung classmate mo nung mga panahon, then that is already an example of entertainment speech. Next is about its elements. Okay? Choose an appropriate. In preparing an entertaining speech, you have to choose an appropriate topic. Enjoy yourself. Keep it simple. It will not make you so hard to deliver your speech. Okay, for example, an example of that is tigsik, diba? When you have entertain them of your presentation of your tigsik, that example already of entertaining speech. Or make it visceral, relative, emotional. Okay, so next we have demonstrative speech. As what has been given in persuasive, okay, if you remember that kanina, it means that it tries to convince you of something, of what they have been presented. So It is connected in demonstrative because aside from presenting a certain information of, for example, a product, they also demonstrate the use of its product. So as been given in the definition, demonstrative speech is explain and show people how to do something. When they show how to use or how to do it, then it is been clear to be identified as demonstrative speech. An example of it, connecting it on the cell phone, diba? The given example is cell phone. They present you a Xiaomi cell phone. But aside from that, they try to explain with you how to use the cell phone, how to open it, how to use the camera, where should we be the where should you can see um, the data connection, how to use Bluetooth, diba? So how do battery percentage work? So if that will be an example of the individual who present a certain information of cell phone, then that is demonstrative. When they show how to work a certain product or a certain information, diba? Aside from the cell phone, for example, explain, I don't know if it has been, you have been able to experience to use microscope. Okay, it has been used in biology or in other areas of science. So aside from telling about the use of microscope and its parts, but also, yeah, if they will show you the parts of the microscope and its use and how to use it, then that will be identified as demonstrative. Okay, so this might involve using various types of visual aids. When they use visual aids or handout to ensure the effectiveness of instruction, then that is demonstrative. Okay, cooking show is an example also of demonstrative when they show how to um, how to make a food, 'di ba? Kung paano sila gumagawa ng pagkain, paano magluto ng adobo, paano magluto ng sinabawan, 'di ba? So those are demonstrative speech. While delivering a certain speech, they do some other tasks. So as given example, demonstrative, how to bake a custard cake. Okay? So paano magluto ng custard cake? Is an example of demonstrative. How to write an essay is also demonstrative. How to make lasagna is an example of demonstrative. When they do also while delivering a certain speech. Okay? So elements, instruction provide a clear and concise instruction on how to complete a task. So there is a instruction and demonstrative that can be identified as demonstrative speech. Task breakdown, the task must be broken down in a logical format or step by step. Key points must be emphasized, including any safety issues. So what it should be remembered here is the logical or step by step process also. Okay, so another lesson will be communication according to delivery. So there are types of speech according to delivery, but let us define first speech. Speech is any type of formal or informal discourse intended to be delivered or orated to audience. So whether it is formal delivery or informal delivery, that can be explained as a speech. So there are types of speech according to manner of delivery. We have manuscript, memorize, 3 impromptu, 4 extemporaneous. Let us first define what is manuscript. It is being defined here that manuscript is delivered by reading from a written text, a paper script, or a teleprompter. So they were been using a certain material and they read whatever it is being stated in the material and without any giving any additional input on what is being written. So they will not provide an additional information in their delivery, but they just have to stick in terms of what have they been written. Okay, so that is manuscript when they read from its context or from its written text. Okay, so an example that is given here is a speech given by congressman on the legislative bill or order. So they have the copy, and then they just have to read the copy that has been into them. But aside from that, di ba, when we have a certain occasion in our schools, like for example graduation, and it was one of the invited guests will be the mayor, congressman, or the governor, they will just look for their assistant, and the assistant will be the one who will deliver the speech, and they just have to read what has been written on the paper that was been given by the congressman. They just represent the congressman or any person that is not there during the occasion. So next, we have a televised news report. In the televised news report, there are screen there where the reports are being flashed. So there are some instances, as you can see, I don't know if you make a laugh of it, because at some point, the newscaster forgot or have a quick, okay, the tele the teleprompter on their screen are quickly moving, so they can able to read quickly also. So there are some instances that happen that, but then again, since it is example, one of example is a televised news report. It means there are screen there where a reporter may read what is being written on the screen. So next, we have a speech or message given at the occasion. For example, a celebration or 18th birthday, especially sa mga babae, they have an 18th birthday or the debut. There are messages that is being presented there. So, but then again, we can identify that as a manuscript, and when they read um, by the use of material. For example, meron silang dala-dalang coupon band na doon nakasulat yung sasabihin nila, especially yung mga mahiyaing magsalita, di ba may mga mahiyaing magsalita, that is what they do. So next, a speech in honor of a well-known and revered person, especially valedictorian, di ba? They are giving a speech rather in the graduation. So yun ang example nito. So oral report in the class when you're tasked to read. For example, you have to read, you have, di ba, you have books na nung yung elementary, di ba? Or even in high school, if you experience that, pag may libro kayo, pinapabasa sa inyo yung ng teacher ninyo kung ano nasa libro. Read page 1, 2, 3, di ba? So you read for what is being asked by your teacher. So advantage of manuscript, consistency, the text catches the focus of the audience. Hindi ka you continue what is been written. Okay, hindi ka nawawala sa kung ano yung nakalagay lang doon lang at yun lang ang sasabihin mo. Lessen the delivery of time, hindi masyadong mahaba yung oras. Concise and accurate information, yun ang nasa advantage. The disadvantage of manuscript is if you are not clear in your speech and cannot read well, it may not get the interest of your audience. Commonly, it happens in the delivery of your speech when you use manuscript on your delivery, because at some point you pronounce words that should not be pronounced, or there are some not read, you cannot read what have you been yung sinulat mo, di ba? Hindi mo nababasa kung ano yung sinulat mo. Those are some instances. If you wanted to use manuscript on your delivery, then you have to provide a good font size for your manuscript. The natural flow of speaking is lost. Yes, because it is manuscript means reading. You just read and you don't give any emotion at all. So it is boring if read out plainly. When you read and when you don't interact with your audience, then it is boring. So next, memorize speech. It means that you learn speech delivered entirely from memory, because it means that you memorize already the speech that you present on the speech. So you have given you prepare a lot of time before coming into that event or occasion. Okay? So example of this is delivering a graduation speech when it is being advised by your advisor. Di ba? Pag in-advise siya ng advisor mo na i-memorize mo, pwede naman. But there are some instances na babasahin mo lang with the use of manuscript. But in terms of memorized speech, it means that you have to memorize it. Then what is been on the paper should be what is been written on the paper should be also delivered. Similar lang si memorized speech sa manuscript in terms of the content. But then again, nagkakaiba siya in terms of the emotion. So the emotion and the tonality of voice that you use in the delivery. Okay? So declamation, oration, or storytelling is an example of memorized speech. When you memorize, that can be determined as memorized speech. Magkakaiba lang siya sa manuscript kasi yung manuscript, hindi mo siya memorize. Okay? Advantage of memorized speaking, you can make better eye contact with the audience. Since na-memorize mo na siya, you can use also your verbal and non-verbal gesture. You sound like an expert because you memorize it already. You can avoid distracting speech. Okay? You can move around. Pwede kang magsalita. Unlike sa manuscript na hindi ka pwede kang malaw kasi may binabasa ka at may material kang ginagamit. So impromptu speech is speech that is delivered on the spot with no chance to prepare or memorize. What are the example of this? When you were been delivering a certain speech na hindi ka nag-memorize, example of this, and when you were been asked in the class to recite something or to discuss something of the lesson that is being discussed last meeting. So impromptu speech siya, kaya wala kang panahon para mag-aral at pag-aralan yung tinanong sa'yo ng teacher. So yun ang example ng impromptu speech. So impromptu speech example also included under the presentation is the actual speaker for the seminar is late and you have to take over for a while. For example, the head of the event, okay, if there are you will become an event organizer or the one who facilitated a certain event, then you have to make the audience not be boring. So you have to talk with them through the use of microphone or kailangan mo silang kausapin ng one-on-one. So para at least while waiting, they were been having a certain conversation with you and they will not get to be boring. So at a meeting, you are asked to give an overview about the agenda. So kung may meeting, usually there are meetings that they have to give an overview about what is the focus of the meeting and also discuss about the meetings that were been highlight last meeting. So a cheering speech or message at the party. So for example, yung yung hindi ka naman nakalista sa magsasalita sa dibu, pero kailangan mo magsalita at wala kang prepared or manuscript na gagamitin or wala kang na-memorize na speech para doon sa party, kailangan mo magbigay ng improved speech. So, unexpected interview. Okay? So, introducing yourself to someone. Okay? That is an example also in recitation in the class. Extemporaneous speech means planned speech in advance but is delivered in a spontaneous manner. So it means that you are really prepared. You whatever question would be asked on you can answer it because you know a lot of information about that. Okay, for example, you've been given a topic and you look and searches or research about it and you created already your speech or how you're able to deliver that. So you're totally prepared of it. When you give a lot of time for that, it means extemporaneous speech. So step in studying extemporaneous speaking, identify the type of question. It is answerable by yes or no. So for example, does your topic is good? Does it going to be necessary to deliver that your speeches in front of the audience? Are they going to be happy of your delivery? Yes or no? Those are the questions. It is centered in good or bad, moral or immoral, just or unjust issues. So determine the purpose of appropriate your topic. So does your topic has something relevant to the occasion? Importante yan because it It doesn't deviate from the context of the presentation or the occasion. Stick to your topic and look at the sides and angles of the problems or issue that may be asked on you. Okay, hahanapin mo na lahat ng pwedeng itanong sa'yo para pag andoon ka na sa presentation ng speech mo ay wala ka nang hindi masasagot. Okay? Extemporaneous versus impromptu. Difference to impromptu speech is that the speaker has a loose guideline for his speech. Speech has not been memorized, but the speaker may occasionally be guided by his note. That is impromptu. Ang extemporaneous speech is used in the theater plays, role playing, and hosting events. So those are example of extemporaneous speech. So those are the lessons under the module. I hope you learned something, and by Friday there will be a quiz related to the discussion that was being discussed today. Maraming salamat. I hope you learned something, and see you by next meeting. Okay? So, thank you. Maraming salamat.